Good morning. Michelle here with My Designs in the Chaos, where it's always our goal to develop, encourage, and grow your crafting talent and confidence. And today I am really excited to be starting a brand new series with y'all called Our Daily Dose of Design. So, for the next 30 days, you are going to get a daily snapshot at answering your questions about designing SVG files and SVG files in general. And so I'm really excited about this new series that we are starting today. This is episode number 1. So if you are here, please let me know where you're watching from. I would love to see, can we get all 50 states? And that would be really kind of cool if we could get someone from everywhere. So if you're here, say hello, show this video a little bit of love, and I really appreciate you. Good morning, Lorraine. I am glad that you are here. So hello. Okay. So it looks like we are good to go. So let me make this on my screen here and we will dive right in. So if you are just tuning in, again, my name is Michelle and I'm the owner of My Designs in the Chaos. And we are starting a brand new series called The Daily Dose of Design. And it's going to be a 30-day series where every day for the next 30 days, I'm going to be going live answering your questions about SVG files and designing them. So hello. So today, where I want to start is I want to start with some basics. And so I want to talk about SVG files. What is an SVG? We see this word all in the crafting world. We see SVG. Oh, I'm using the SVG. Oh, go get a free SVG. Oh, go download your SVG. What is an SVG? And so today I want to talk about that. So an SVG file stands for a scalable vector graphic. Okay, so that's the first highlight point is if you're taking notes, there's going to be tons of great information in these next 30 days. And so the very first thing that I want you to know is SVG stands for Scalable Vector Graphic. Now, at first glance, it's like, okay, well, who cares? Why does that matter? But that matters for a couple of different reasons, okay? What does that really mean? What is a scalable vector graphic and why is that the file that we need to be using with our cutting machines? Well, number one, that matters because a scalable vector graphic never gets blurry. Have you ever taken a picture of something and then you try to zoom in really close, or you try to like go print that picture and that picture now all of a sudden becomes really blurry? Has that ever happened to anybody before? I know it's happened to me. I take a picture and I zoom in on a certain area, or I blow the picture up and it'll say like, sorry, it's too blurry, or it'll give you like a little warning or a prompt that says, hold on, you don't want to print this picture. It's going to be too blurry. Well, the cool thing about a scalable vector graphic is that never happens with an SVG file. You can make that image as big as you want and it'll never get blurry or pixelated. So if for some reason you're working with something and you're trying to blow it up really big and it's getting blurry or pixelated, that's like where all the little squares are kind of getting blurry on there, that means you're not working with the SVG. You're probably working with the PNG. And we'll get into more about that later, but an SVG file will never do that. That's one really cool thing. So it basically means you can take that file and you can get it bigger and bigger. And instead of it taking the digital format that's on there, and instead of it taking that and just stretching it out, what's happening is as you make it bigger and bigger, it's actually refilling that same thing. So you never get a blurry look like you do with a picture or a PNG file or a different type. So that's a really cool thing about a scalable vector graphic. It's scalable. We can make it really big and it will never ever get blurry due to the type of file that it is. And so that's one thing that's really important. So number one, it stands for scalable vector graphic. Number two, what does that mean? That means that we can stretch it out really, really big and it'll never become blurry. The second thing that that means is that a scalable vector graphic actually has layers to it. So you can take that file. So when we open that up in our cutting machine and we ungroup it and it has all these different elements to it, those are elements inside of a scalable vector graphic. It's unique to that file type. Whereas if you take a PNG, it's only one layer. So if you've ever had a situation, and I don't know if this happened to you, it's happened to me when I was first working with my machine, and you open up a file and it's like, why won't this ungroup? Why is this only trying to print? Or why is this only not cutting the outline? It won't cut the details on the inside. That's because you don't have a scalable vector graphic. Now, I have to say as a caveat, it could also be the way the designer made the file. It could be that they made it in one unit together, but typically SVG files, they have layers to them. And so that's really a cool part is that you can ungroup them and you can remove in the digital file, there's a whole bunch of different layers. And that's how you make those like really cool 3D shadow boxes. And that's how you're able to take on a shirt and like do different layers on that. And you can knock them out, yes, but there's still different elements or different layers that you can cut individually on your machine. So that's why it matters, number two. So number one, it stands for scalable vector graphic. Number two, what does that mean? It means it never gets blurry and it means that it has layers to it. And then the third thing that I want to talk about in regards to a scalable vector graphic or an SVG file, as we all know them in the cutting world, is that that is the number one file type that you should be using with your machine if you're trying to cut something. The number one file type. It's way better than trying to open up a DXF file or a PNG file and trace it. You want to use the original SVG. You want to do that for a couple reasons. Number one, because like I just talked about, it will cut in layers. You have different elements there. Whereas a PNG or a flat image, and we'll talk about PNGs on a different day. Today we're focused on SVG files, but on a PNG, it only cuts it's one flat layer. You can't access all the other stuff. So then that's when you get into like tracing and trying to like do all this stuff with this file that makes it way more complicated. So use the original SVG that designer created, because then you can cut the outline and all the individual elements that go with it. And then the second reason why it's the optimum file type to use is because if it's designed effectively, meaning if it's designed by somebody who knows cutting machines and knows what's happening, it's going to have a minimal amount of nodes. Now, why does that matter to us as cutting machines? Has anybody ever taken a file and tried to cut a design and their machine sounds like this, like tap, 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 or it's like it's picking up its blade all the time and it takes forever to cut? Well, that's because that file probably has a whole bunch of nodes. Nodes are little bitty points inside a design that tell your machine to pick up its blade and turn the direction just a little bit. SVG files, when designed effectively, have a minimal amount of these, which means that it cuts very, very smooth. Whereas when you trace something, sometimes you can have a whole bunch of these little nodes. Or if you're using the DXF file, there's a gazillion nodes in that file type. So it sounds like your machine is like doing all this weird stuff, or it's taking a really long time to cut. That's because you have all of these extra elements in there that if an SVG file is designed effectively, it won't have that. It'll be a really nice, smooth, clean cut. So that is today. Let me give a quick overview of SVG files. Number one, what do they stand for? Y'all tell it with me in the chat. A scalable vector graphic. Number two, why do they matter? Because number one, they never get blurry. And number two, they have layers with them. And then the third thing that I want you to remember for today, that is the best file type to use with your machine. It's the best because you can cut the outline and cut the layers, and it has a minimal amount of nodes on it. Okay, so that is your daily dose of design, episode number one, all about the basics of an SVG file. Now, I want to encourage you, if you have a question about SVG files or about designing with them, I would love for you to shoot me an email, info@mydesignsinthechaos.com, info at mydesignsinthechaos.com, and let me know your question. And maybe I will feature it on one of our episodes of the Daily Dose of Design. Like I said, I'm going to be doing these every day for the next 30 days. So I can't wait to have you join me. Make sure, if you have a question, shoot me an email and let me know. And otherwise, I would love it if you connected with me. We do a magazine, it's a semi-annual magazine. It comes out twice a year called the Chaos Community Connection, where we give you all kinds of fun tips, tricks. We also highlight some of our offers and some of our programs in there, some of our amazing community members and what they are accomplishing. So I encourage you to go check that out. I put the link right up above so that you can connect with us further. But again, if you have a question that you want me to answer inside of our daily dose of design, make sure to shoot me an email and let me know. And otherwise, I will see you guys back here tomorrow for episode number 2. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.